Hey everybody, Chilson here with Focus Fire, bringing you the actual hero guide on how to play PvE Gazlowe specifically. What the hell is PvE Gazlowe? If you don't know what PvE means, it means player versus environment, aka killing NPCs. So this is mainly about building around the Robo Goblin heroic and not Gravo Bomb. I'll probably cover that in a different guide, but this one is all about the Robo Goblin. Alright, very quickly, I'm not going to go into super detail about the talents, but I'm going to just point out the talents that I have for this build that you're going to want to use in general. Regeneration Master helps you solo bosses and sustain a little bit, because sometimes it can cut it close. Superiority, this is a must for soloing bosses. The boss will kick your ass without superiority. And then you can get the spread turret damage, or you can get engine gunk. This is a little bit more CC utility whenever you're fighting players, and this will just add more wave clearing, camp clearing, and damage overall. And then, of course, Robo Goblin. And then this is a toss-up. Turret storage. You can get an extra turret, which is really handy. But if you feel extra vulnerable and you think that you're going to get caught by a lot of CC, maybe a Jaina is on the enemy team or something, and you feel like you're going to get caught and killed often, Sprint is a nice, safe choice. And then increased turret range. Always get that. It's so nice. And then Mecha Lord. That's the general talent build that I used. Alright, now first we need to understand a few things about Gazlowe. The reason people hate Gazlowe or hate him being on their team generally is because they don't understand what he brings to the team. And a lot of Gazlowe players don't even understand what they should be doing to bring to the team. But Gazlowe is by no means useless, and he's especially good on these maps where people are forced to fight in a location where you can set up turrets and zone them with your bombs and your annoying giant laser. So first off, treat Gazlowe like support damage. He's not a primary damage dealer, even though you can often do the most damage in the game. In fact, in this game, I did the most damage by the end of the game, even in this first team fight. And it's hard to tell when Gazlowe's damage is really paying off because his turrets are shooting random people. It's not focused, concentrated damage. You throw out a bomb to zone people, sometimes you hit them with it, sometimes you don't. A lot of the time it's just a deterrent. And you charge up your laser and shoot whoever you can and damage them and scare them off a little bit, or at least wound them so your teammates can finish them off. So Gazlowe is not concentrated, focus fire, assassination type damage. You're not going to chase people down and finish them off like a Jaina or a Zeratul would do or something, but that doesn't mean you're useless. You do enough damage to either help your teammates secure a kill or scare them off and zone them. As you can see, they're having trouble getting past my turrets and fighting over the tribute the way they want because they have to walk through these turrets, and turrets actually take a decent amount of time to die. So, you have to know your strengths and weaknesses, and your team should also know the strengths and weaknesses of Gazlowe. But that's why I don't really recommend playing Gazlowe just any time on any map. His best maps are Cursed Hollow and Sky Temple for a reason. It's because the objectives are in a centralized location that people have to fight over in a small area. That's why you can maximize your turrets there. Now, Gazlowe's not great at chasing people down, of course, but he is good at escaping or helping teammates escape or just zoning people, like I said. See, here we want to steal their siege camp, so I drop a turret. You can set up turrets like this so you can scout and dismount people who might try to flank you or ambush you. This makes us feel a lot safer when we're doing a cheeky little play like stealing their merc camp. Additionally, if you've overstayed your welcome, Gazlowe can help teammates escape. You can drop bombs and turrets. The turrets will dismount people so they can't catch you, and the bombs can zone them, so they either walk through them and possibly get stunned or have to walk around them, buying your teammates time to flee the scene. Now, one of the many weaknesses of Gazlowe, however, is that his CC is unreliable, especially if you're not playing with Gravo Bomb. It's hard to get people to actually get stunned by your slow ticking time bomb. However, you can force people into bad locations with it. As you can see, I threw a bomb here at this choke point, so either the enemies have to walk through it to help their teammates, or they get cut off from their teammates entirely, and it zones them out. So you can see it's useful in the right situations. And hey, don't forget, you are a melee specialist. You can get real brave when your whole team is with you. Oh, Malfurion, come out and play! And wham! Yeah, take that! Yo, somebody gotta clean that guy up, because I ain't doing it. Later, chumps. So remember, it's not that Gazlowe is bad at team fighting, it's just that he has a special kind of team fight. You zone them and you force them to walk through your turrets, or they take a bunch of damage, and you pick a nice location where you can charge up your laser and hit them with it and chunk their HP and make them scared to come in and fight over these objectives. Keep in mind though, once you hit level 20 and get the Mecha Lord talent, the upgrade to your heroic, you can actually do a ton of melee damage. The problem is there's certain heroes that are very popular right now, like Kael'thas and Jaina, who do a lot of AoE damage, and it's kind of terrifying as a squishy melee to run in and melee people. But as you can see, when the opportunity presents itself to safely whack away at people, you do a ton of damage. I'm hitting him for 565 a pop. That is a lot of damage. You just gotta pick your battles and make sure that you don't dive in recklessly to a bunch of crazy damage from, AoEs like Jaina and Kael'thas, like I mentioned before. You gotta be careful and choose who you're gonna melee, and you are squishy, but you can definitely do a ton of damage slicing fools up. Now, just so there's no confusion, this is not like low-level quick match gameplay. I'm only using Rank 1 Hero League footage. So I just wanted to reassure you that this style of play and this spec on the right maps and in the right conditions, with the right composition and everything, can definitely work. It just takes good understanding of how Gazlowe works and what his strengths and weaknesses are, but you can definitely do a ton of damage even so. I'm top hero damage at the end of this game by quite a bit. Yeah, that's right, losers. Try to keep up next time. Hey, nice damage, Vala. Lost Vikings, more like lost damage. Am I right? Zeratul, more like Zeratul with two O's. With two O's, like two... Screw you guys. Now, that's the extent of Gazlowe's PvP power, indirect combat, and stuff like that. But that's not the greatest use of PvE Gazlowe. The best use is his ability to solo bosses, which is making great efficient use of your team's time. Normally, you have to dedicate your entire team to getting the boss safely, and this is usually known by the enemy because they see that you're not on the map anywhere, and they're like, oh, these cheeky bastards are going for a boss right now for sure, so let's go wipe them on it and steal the boss. But when your team is fighting over an objective, for instance, and your teammates are keeping them distracted and busy, they don't usually suspect that a Gazlowe is doing a little sneaky solo boss. And boom, easy boss, easy life. Now, you might think that abandoning your teammates is really bad when they're trying to defend. My teammates are getting pressured up against our wall, and yeah, I could help them by dropping turrets and shooting laser beams and stuff, but I'm not going to be that useful in this team fight, and we'll probably just scare them off and probably not get any kills. So this is what I mean when I say your teammates have to know how to play with Gazlowe. A lot of the time, they'd be bitching at you at this point, saying, "What are you doing? Come help us defend this wall, we need a 5v5. But as long as they play safe, and they don't run in and suicide in a 4v5, you're going to get a lot more value out of this boss than you are if you went and helped them defend that wall in most situations. So, I'm able to get the boss, and my teammates actually ended up killing 2 of the enemies anyway. They played safe and they were smart, and they picked off 2 people, and they only lost 1. So, as you can see, this is like super value. And now with 2 enemies just rezzing, they still have to deal with the first boss. They can't just let it go to town on their buildings. So usually the way this map works is one boss begets another boss. So now that they had to waste time defending, they can't really get here in time to stop us from getting this boss. Now, most people know at this level of play that this is what usually happens. You take one boss, and while they defend against the first boss, you go and you take the other. But thanks to Gazlowe's damage being insanely good against NPCs, we were able to kill the boss pretty quickly before their whole team could show up and contest it. And Gazlowe makes pretty favorable situations for taking bosses even if the enemy does show up, because they have to fight on your turrets. And you can throw bombs, and normally your bombs aren't reliable, but if you're fighting on a specific location that they want to dogpile on top of, then your bombs are pretty useful. Now, another dilemma that I'm sure you and many people watching this video have had is you take a third tribute and you curse the enemy, and then you're like, hey, should we push with the curse or should we take bosses? Well, when you have a PvE Gazlowe, you don't need to make that decision. You can simply do both. Just have the Gazlowe easily solo the boss while your team makes very good use of the curse and pushes as 4. As long as they play safe and they know that they're without their 5th member, this makes it way more valuable. This is way better use of your time. To be demolishing their base with a curse active and to get a boss trekking down one of their lanes, that is insane pressure on the enemy team, and it's very hard for them to deal with, and you're usually going to take forts and keeps pretty easily with this tactic. And on top of that, the other boss becomes available as well, so while they're dealing with your team pushing with a curse and a boss pushing one lane, you can easily go and solo the second boss and have that push the other lane. It's just too easy. Of course, this tactic works only on this map with the double bosses. This is the only map that has 2 bosses, but even if there's only one boss, it's still insanely good to be able to solo a boss. That's very efficient use of your time, puts a load of pressure on the enemy team, and oftentimes gets you valuable forts and keeps down. Now, of course, if your team is horribly behind and you've been getting your ass kicked since the beginning, you're going to feel a lot less useful. Your team needs to be able to put out pressure themselves and hold their own, and not just run around suiciding, or you're not going to be able to have the windows of opportunity to be taking the bosses. Otherwise, if the enemy team isn't pressured by your team, they're going to go and take the bosses instead and kick your ass while you try to solo it. So, This is definitely a team-oriented style of play. So is everything. No hero is going to carry the game solo if your team is just feeding all game. So if you have the right kind of teammates who know what they're doing, and you have the right comp, then you can definitely snowball your team pretty heavily with this strategy. And therein lies the power of Gazlowe. So remember, it's all about knowing the right maps to pick him on, the right way to play him, and having the right composition. Make sure that your composition has proper damage dealers so they can afford to not have you in every team fight. We had a Jaina and a Kael'thas and like heavy damage dealers. You don't want to pick a Gazlowe in a comp where you have like 2 low damage dealing tanks and then a Gazlowe and then 2 supports or something like that. You have to know the right kind of comps to put them in. And that's by far one of the most important considerations. Don't leave your team hanging because again, Gazlowe can't chase people down and kill them and do tons of single target damage. He does a lot of damage, like as you can see, lots of hero damage, but it's going to be spread out. It's not going to be concentrated fire, and your team composition is definitely going to need that usually. So don't screw your team over and pick Gazlowe when it doesn't fit the comp. That's why people hate Gazlowe, because people pick him when it doesn't make any sense, or they don't play him properly, or the teammates don't know how to play with him properly. But as you can see, this is Rank 1 Hero League play, so my teammates knew very well how to play with Gazlowe, and they knew how to hold their own without me at times, and not suicide and get overconfident and stuff like that. So my teammates did a really great job, and they clearly know how to play with PvE Gazlowe properly. So props to them for making Gazlowe look good. But anyway, that about does it for this guide on how to play Robo-Goblin Gazlowe. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe for more guides and share it with your friends. Also, I live stream Rank 1 gameplay if you'd like to check it out at twitch.tv/TosenTribe. Give it a follow if you feel like it. Anyway, thanks for watching as always, and peace out.